Hey everyone, welcome to Adobe Live. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Cody, and with me I have the amazing, incredible VooDoo Val. How are you doing today, Val?
I'm doing super good. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be great.
Fantastic. So you guys, this is super exciting because this is day one of mine and Val's collab show. So we are going to be together for the next handful of episodes of this show. And basically, what we're going to be doing is, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be painting in juxtaposing paint styles. Every episode, we're going to pick a theme, and this week is birthstones. My birthstone is emerald, and Val's is sapphire. And we would really love to invite you guys to, paint along with us. If you guys can find a friend, especially in the Discord, to Juxtapaint along with you, that would be amazing. Just post your work to Instagram with hashtag Juxtapaint Adobe Live, and we will be posting or sharing your work on this future streams. So yeah, we're super excited. And Val has some info about some giveaways to talk about as well.
Oh, yeah. So, what's up, guys? Also, I see Sam Peterson's in the chat. It's good to see you, Sam. Hi. It's good to see all of you folks in here. So yeah, we are doing this show, which I'm super excited about. We've been like freaking out behind the scenes because we are so excited to be doing something regularly, hanging out, doing art together. And on top of the challenges, basically, that are, I think you could call them like Juxtapaint challenges every time. On top of those themes and stuff, and inviting you folks to participate with us, we're also have a few things for you guys to have and a few ways that you can win some things from this stream. So first of all, if you check out the description below, you will see a link which will share a library with you. So that library has a couple of things in there. Number one, there is a mood board with a color palette and some inspirational images if you would like to participate with us, which looks a little something like this. This is our library. So you have like a little mood board for today with a bunch of different birthstones. There are the months on there with their corresponding stone and some images of each. And then there is a template actually in there. So this template, which I've been having kind of a blast with, let me pop over here, is a little trading card template. So after you create whatever it is that you make for an episode of Juxtapaint, you can actually place your artwork in here to give you a cool little post to put on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever. And Cody and I will be doing that with our art too, kind of making a little trading card out of whatever we create. And if you comment and tag a friend in the Instagram post where we announce each episode's theme, I'm actually going to be raffling, choosing a few people at the end of each month to receive a physical copy of the trading cards that we make. So I'm super pumped. I think it'll be really fun, and not only just excited about like the artwork that we make and put onto these cards, but like we need flavor text, Cody. So the flavor text is going to be sassy, I'm sure. But yeah, if you'd like to win some physical copies of these little trading cards we make during episodes of Juxtapaint at the end of each month, I will go through the posts, and Cody and I will announce the winners of who will be getting some of them. So I hope that you will join us. I hope that you will
join us.
Yes, join us.
Do it.
Juxtapaint along with us. Choose a Juxtapaint buddy if you want, and it should be a hoot. So yeah, today's theme is a hoot.
Indeed.
There's also going to be a lot of that on this show. Let's be honest. There's going to be a lot of good sayings on this show. But yeah, why don't we kind of dive into it, Cody? Because I'm ready to jazz on in. I don't know.
Indeed.
Do people say that? I don't know if people say that. I
They
feel like
say it
people
now.
say it. They say it now.
Let's jazz on in. Let's do it.
Let's jazz on in, folks. So this is kind of a close-up look of our mood board. Like I said, it's got all the months here listed next to the corresponding stones, and then like some little images of the various stones. There might be some variation here because every once in a while I see a list of birthstones where the birthstones are slightly different. So if you'd like to use different stones for your birthstone, feel free, but you guys can sample a color palette from each of these images, which I generated in Adobe Firefly. and you can start painting it up. I've got kind of an image here of a sapphire amulet that is shaped like a little rose. So I'm going to be making little sapphire crystals here with metal worked leaves around it, because I thought that would be kind of cool. What are you working on, Cody?
We can pop on over to both of our screens. We can show off both of our artwork. I am going to be working on a little emerald themed dragon. And I wanted to let you guys know the reason we chose the birthstone theme is because Val's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's right.
You forgot your birthday.
I did actually legitimately forget. Oh yeah, tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 31 years young. Yeah, it's my birthday. For my birthday, I would like to see what you guys juxtapaint. That's what I want for my birthday. If anyone wants to give me a present, it is hanging out with us and making some cool art. So
for sure.
Thanks, guys. Paloma says her birthstone is aquamarine. That's amazing. I feel like aquamarine is a really interesting one because polished up and stuff, it looks really, really sweet. But it's also a really super unique stone in its raw form, because sometimes it grows in like these really cool like columns almost.
Yeah.
Which I just love. So I think that it would be really cool either way, like whatever route you decide to take with it, like doing something that is a little more polished, but you could also do some pretty cool stuff with the raw form. Jack Watson's hanging out. It's good to see you, Jack. I think
Hi,
Jack is our mod today.
Yes.
Right? Hi,
Yes.
Jack. I am gonna just start. I think my approach is gonna be similar to what I usually do, Cody, and that is that I'm gonna kind of throw in some values to the basic form of like the surrounding shapes here, and then start like adding some cool metal worked detail and color after the fact, like just kind of pop it out of the canvas and then spice it up later.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see like the metal texture that you end up doing for that piece. I think that'll look really awesome.
I'm thinking about going with like a I thought about like we could do gold, we could do iron, like we could do silver. There's a lot of stuff that could be done for it, but I'm thinking I might actually, while I have been doing a lot of gold lately, I'm almost thinking that I might do like a silver, but we'll see when we get there. What about you? Because you got this cute little guy that I just love, and I'd love to know. I assume you're going to do like various shades of green and stuff, but tell us a little bit more about your approach there.
Yeah, so I decided to start with a sketch just because, our stream's only an hour, so I don't want to get caught up doing a sketch forever. But I kind of came up with this little palette here. I knew, obviously, I wanted to have some kind of green in there for emerald. I'm thinking about doing just like an emerald-themed dragon. So dragons typically are kind of associated with like gold because they love shiny things and they collect gold. So I put him on this little, he's sitting on a little gold pile. And there's going to be like emeralds. There's going to be emeralds like strewn throughout the pile. And he's also going to be green. And I think I'm going to try to go for like a painterly style, and try to add like little like shiny specks on his scales to kind of make him look a little bit more gem-like. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, that's kind of what my thought process is here.
I love it. I'd love to know for you folks in the chat who are going to be participating or maybe brainstorming to create something along with us. What comes to mind as far as like a cool art project you could do when you guys think of birthstones? And I'm going to need to know everybody's birthstone, obviously.
Right. Yes. Put your birthstone in chat.
Mine is awkward maroon, just like this comment. This is from Wade. Is yours? Wait, what's your birthstone? Wade? Is it like a garnet? Is it garnet? I think garnet is cool. Garnet.
What color is garnet again?
garnet is like a darkish red, and sometimes garnet can be different color. It's one of those that has like variations sometimes, but typically a garnet is like a dark red color, and it is different than a ruby red. A ruby red is like a crimson red, and garnet is typically honestly, I feel like a good way to put it is that it's a little bit more earthy, and a raw garnet is quite textured, actually. It's pretty unique, and I actually prefer it to rubies just because it seems a little more magical, also much less expensive. but yeah, I like
we all
it.
like that.
I've got a couple pieces of garnet jewelry, actually.
Cool.
I'm sure surprising to no one ever that I have strange raw stone witchy jewelry, but yeah, it's actually a favorite of mine.
Awesome.
Any amethysts in here, by the way? Sorry to cut you off.
I was literally about to say I've always really loved amethysts. I'm not.
Yes, amethyst is probably tied for my favorite stone.
Yeah.
My favorite stone of all time. Are you familiar with labradorite, Codi?
Yes, actually, I have seen that online. Yes,
it's like amazing. If you guys haven't seen a labradorite stone, I highly recommend checking it out because it's almost like a little galaxy contained inside of a stone. Like, so it's cool. Super, super cool. CJ says mine is it peridot or peridot?
I believe it's peridot.
Okay, because peridot sounds really sophisticated, and peridot sounds like
Peridot
cartoon character's name. And I'm not gonna lie, you said peridot to me the other day, like yesterday, and I was years old when I realized I was doing it wrong. I'm gonna be honest.
I love it.
I should be an expert in this sort of thing, but I was like, you were like peridot, and I was like, I know.
What is that?
So I'm pretty sure you're right. Pretty sure you're right about that. But that's pretty cool. Peridot is a really cool one as well. And there's a lot. Peridot is also one that is substituted every once in a while when people kind of make their own lists of birthstones. And one that is substituted in place of peridot, I believe, is called, let me Google real quick just to make sure I've got the right one. I think it's no, not malachite, malachite, something. These stones have like weird names. Okay, moldavite. Yeah, so moldavite is a stone. There is only a small amount of it on Earth. Wow. And there may never be any more of it ever again because moldavite was created when an asteroid hit the planet.
Whoa.
So it like combined with foreign material from the asteroid and created, honestly, a stone that looks a little bit like mold, like glassy mold. It's very, very cool. And also I choose to believe it's magic. You know? I think that's good enough for me. I'm gonna I think I'm gonna clip to my line art and change the color of my line art. I think I'm gonna do that. And I honestly don't usually do that because I don't usually make line art that's clean enough to do that. So, but surprise, I did it this time. So
we did it. We're doing it.
Yep. Moldavite sounds like Voldemort. Yeah, it is. Yeah, honestly, it looks like Voldemort a little bit, but green. It's just a strange little guy. Looks like crystal moss. Yeah.
When I was in high school, I got a class ring for my senior year, and cool. I didn't like emerald at the time, like even though like you're kind of like supposed to get your birthstone in it, but instead I got peridot, and that is actually how I know how to pronounce it because I was told.
Sense. Okay, now we really have to take your word for it because you're almost certainly right. Absolutely right. All right, Good to know. You know what? I was just saying the other day, there's a few stones that I pronounced lame for a while. One of them was lapis lazuli, I believe is how you say it, right? Isn't that how you say it? I think lapis lazuli.
Something like that, yeah. I think so.
I spiced it up. I was like lapis lazuli. You know, like, I was French with it, you know. I was like, and then somebody finally, you know what caught me where I realized I was wrong is I was at me and was like, excuse, hello, I can hear you.
Say that again. There we go. Okay, we can hear you now.
Did I do a little hiccup there?
Yeah.
Whoa. I don't know if you guys caught my weird story or not.
I don't think I didn't catch it.
Well, I said that I was doing a Minecraft stream.
I knew you were going to say Minecraft.
Somebody was like, "That's not how you say that." And I was like, well, I wouldn't know the correct way because this is how I've been saying it for 20 years. So help me. Send help.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's funny.
Thanks, chat. Okay, that looks good enough to me. I'm going to go ahead and color this green. I'm going to throw color on this already. That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to actually pull my sketch big here, and I am going to start color as well.
Nice. We are doing a great job.
We're on a roll.
We are on a roll. We've been excited about this for a while, though. Like, we've been super pumped for this for a good while. Am on YouTube says that their stone is garnet. Garnet's a great one. Let's see. I'm gonna kind of scroll through here real quick. Garnet and amethyst, I believe. Yes. I'm November. I think it's brown. Actually, there are a couple. Yeah, but citrine for November. Citrine can be really cool. Citrine can have like darker, almost coffee tones to it, but I think that the most common for citrine is like a pearlescent white that fades into like a bright gold. So you are actually radiant, Jack.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. We got another sapphire in the chat. Joshua, when's your birthday? I need all my Virgos in the chat to assemble. And by assemble, I mean just like raise a brow and shrug a shoulder, because that's what we're all about.
So in terms of my coloring technique here, the way that I wanted to do a painterly effect, if you guys have never heard me kind of go over how I do this, one of my favorite brushes that I've been using lately for this look is one of Kyle Webster's brushes, and it's from his mega pack, and it's called Gouache Perfecto. And it kind of just like, depending on how much pressure you do, it kind of it's just like a really smooth, like painterly gouache technique, or texture rather. And if you do light pressure, it kind of has like a dry brush effect too, which is nice. But what I've been loving using with this brush is color dynamics. And I actually learned this from Kyle. If you guys want to see he's got a lot of really great videos from Adobe Live. Like he's got like tons of fresco videos and stuff. If you guys want tips for brushes, he like just brings the tips all the time.
Oh yeah.
And so I learned about color dynamics from him. And basically what my settings are is I have hue jitter at 0, saturation jitter at 11%, and brightness jitter at 2%. And so what that does is every time I put down my pen tip and I pick it up and put it back down again, it actually changes the saturation and brightness of the color just slightly. So it basically gives a painterly effect without any work at all. Without like, so you don't have to worry about doing like the alt click technique to kind of like blend your colors or anything, or you don't have to worry about picking colors by hand. Like it just automatically does it. And if you can also turn on hue jitter as well if you wanted to, because then that will actually adjust the hue slider as well, depending on how much of a difference you want, in your color palette.
That's amazing. I feel like he's got a few like that have like kind of changed my life a little bit, as far as like just like finding a way that is like super practical and to the point to like do things that I sometimes struggle to work out, you know? So I agree with you. I also highly recommend checking out Kyle T. Webster and his awesome streams that he's done over here, if you guys want any tips on that sort of thing. I have started to add a little bit of color to mine over here, and I threw like a green tone underneath the blue because I don't know if I want like something that is gonna be perfectly blue. I almost want like a little bit of green hue to it. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not exactly sure if that's going to work, but I do really like to experiment when it comes to using the colors and applying with blend modes, because I feel like I always end up finding something I didn't mean to find when I start to like just throw paint at the wall, so to speak, and create something in that way. And so I thought about like maybe I'll do green only, and it'll be, you know, like actual like plants around it. And then I did, like I said earlier, like doing like an iron or a silver would be really, really cool, because it would lend itself to like that kind of metallic of the jewelry and stuff. But then I thought like a little mixture of both to give like a silver vibe that has like some sort of green-esque property to it could be really unique. But I don't know how to do that off the top of my head, so we just figure it out, you know?
Totally. Yeah, that's the beauty of experimentation. Sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I actually cool. Yeah, I actually accidentally discovered this painterly coloring technique while I was on stream with Adobe Live. Like, really? just because I was willing to just try something new, and I don't always do that. So, but I'm so glad that I did, because I use this technique all the time now.
Experimenting is really one of the greatest things you can do, and I think that I have kind of developed some of like the greatest ways to approach certain parts of my work during the times where and this is maybe odd, but like it usually happens when I care the least about what comes of it, you know? And I think that remembering that sometimes if I come to a point where I'm like, I don't know if this is like going well or whatever, that like remembering that and then just forcing myself to care less and worry less. I should say maybe not care less, but worry and feel, you know, frightful a little bit less, kind of brings those moments out in the piece in a way that is ends up being really, really cool for it. I'm not 100% sold on this, but I don't know if that matters. I feel like I might just leave it gray and then start with the blue of the crystal, because sometimes you have to pack it away too. You ever do that where you're experimenting and it's like going all right, but at the same time you're kind of like, am I getting a little ahead of myself? That's kind of how I feel sometimes too. It's just like, maybe I need to not rush into the line work or rush into this whatever portion of the project it is. That's kind of how I'm feeling now. It's like I got these good values in here, but I think I'll take a step back from that portion of it until I maybe an idea comes to me for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna select the line work that I did for the crystal, and I'm gonna cut it away from the line art of the rest, because if I do that, then I can have it separate and I can paint those lines differently than I painted the other lines. So I'm gonna put that here and line that back up. Boom. And we're gonna make this a crystal. Mine is pink, tourmaline, and opal. That's amazing. Opal is just
Opal
a great.
is really, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a great
it's
one.
like a fire opal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, magic, totally. Looks like, oh yeah, Joshua, you had told me your birthday September 25th, and then Sam September 14th, the day after me. Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Almost birthday twinsies. I also see Andrew Deacon in the YouTube chat hanging out. Yeah, we're Andrew's talking about the Thanos Infinity Stones. Heck yeah. You could totally do some Marvel fan art for this Juxtapaint challenge. Absolutely. I feel like that would be super cool if you guys wanted to do that.
Totally.
All right. Let me come over to our mood board, and I'm gonna snag like a good blue from that image of our sapphire, and I'm gonna come in and just kind of throw this in. I also have like selected myself some reference for like how to paint it, and I'm always really astonished, honestly, with like just how many colors and different points there are like in a crystal.
Yes,
You know?
I was just about to say that. Like, and crystals are just so just complex to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I saw I kind of too I had like watched this other like tutorial of somebody painting a crystal. And I thought it was really interesting that like the artist decided to like cut the faces into like their own individual shapes, like just with the lasso tool, and like paint each face individually. And I thought that was really cool because my approach usually is just to like kind of go ham and like paint wherever. But I think I might actually try that artist's approach to this just because I thought it was so interesting the way that it was approached. So I'm going to kind of try that. I'm going to take my polygonal lasso tool. And I'm gonna just like snag a chunk of this. And I'm also not going to, like, I have like a line in my sketch where I think that like some shading could come in, and I'm gonna like treat them as two separate pieces and then just paint right in there.
Yeah, separating it out like that probably helps to kind of just like simplify the approach to like the lighting. So you only have to think about one segment at a time, and that kind of like like I said, simplifies it a little bit. It's not so daunting.
And I think that it's like it can be a very daunting sort of thing to approach, like because it's not necessarily like if you break a crystal down, especially if you're doing like a rock crystal, if you break it down into like its bare form, it's actually quite a simple shape. Like it's like a tube or like a lump with like very like typically, depending on what kind of mineral you're painting, but like just like a long form, little cylindrical, maybe with flat faces, and that is relatively easy to paint. It's the complexity of it as it's, you know, slotted in with so many other faces and so many other elements to it that starts to make it really, really difficult to kind of hold together in your mind as you're approaching the you know, the beginning. That throws me off big time sometimes. So hopefully we can get around that. I'm gonna cheat. Not cheat. Cheat's a bad word for it. I'm painting a sapphire, but this sapphire is gonna have purple in it.
Oh,
shocker!
Nice.
Shocker! I know.
I like that though. I love it when I see I mean, artists do this for anything, but especially gems, like just kind of like putting in like an unexpected reflected light color, like just like throwing in like a bright seafoam green or something in there, and just kind of giving that like the bright speck of color is like, we can make it really interesting.
Speaking of bright seafoam green, I'm going to add that to this because I think it's getting a little bit boring as far as the like, oh, this is you know, just 3 different shades of blue. I feel like I talked about that recently, where I was like, if you're gonna shade something, like just choosing, you can sometimes you can choose like a color that is the same color, just slightly lighter or slightly darker, you know, like you can do it. But I always think that at least some experimentation would be great. If you can try to do, you know, something slightly lighter or darker, but that is like a slightly different hue, like test it out, so that it's like maybe the shading for your medium orange is actually like a darker color that is, you know, skewed towards red. You know, test that out. And so adding like a few other little pieces of different shades, I think would be really cool.
Usually when I do highlights and shadows on my work, even if it's just a tiny bit, I'll change the hue. And you usually can't even really tell, I don't think, if you're really looking at my work. But if I didn't do it, you'd really be able to tell. It just looks so much more flat without changing the hue.
And I think that that's exactly what it is. It's like a flatness, and somehow changing that hue subtly is like something that really gives it a little bit of depth. And it's a depth that people can't pick out, because it's almost like you don't even really know what it is about it that's doing that. So yeah, I agree 100%. I'd love to know how you guys choose your colors, and if changing the hue is something that you do as well. So let us know in the chat if that's something that you also employ.
I think the reason that it looks natural to change the hue is just because in real life we would have temperature changes, like within shadows or highlights. And, you know, sometimes like for instance, if you hue shift your shadows cooler on the spectrum, then it just kind of looks natural. It kind of like adds that dimension of atmosphere to your work.
I agree 100%. I'm starting to like really chip away at the shape of this, and I'm actually really liking it.
You're like a jeweler. You're chipping away at your gem.
You are my favorite person, Codi, for a reason. You're saying
I'm just imagining
Val
with a little microscope on like in the gem, like holding up the gem. And
you know what instantly comes into my head whenever I think about one of those little jeweler things is the dwarves from like the older Snow White that were like like looking at the gems they were mining.
Yeah.
I think that's good for that side. Let's come over and do this side. And then I'm gonna have to, another thing that I think is really, really important when illustrating like a crystal type type object is like understanding that there's actually a little bit of space between the edges and corners where the facets are touching.
Right.
Because it's been roughened. And another thing that is really great to understand about like raw gems, raw crystals, is that raw crystals which are not polished can sometimes look as if they are polished because they have those shining bases. But raw unpolished crystals, especially like a quartz of some kind, the way that you can add a little bit of realism to them, if they are, you know, if you're going for like a raw look, or if you are just trying to, maybe you're looking at crystals and you're trying to tell which one of them is raw and not, is that even those faces on a raw crystal, if it's not polished, it's going to have a little bit of like rutilation isn't the word for it. It's like it's going to have these weird little slices in the surface. Like it has like these little kind of like cuts to it, whereas they polish that out on a polished crystal. So a polished crystal is going to be like perfectly smooth like glass, and then something that is not polished just yet, if you look really close or if you turn it slightly so that the light is catching one side, it's going to have these little, almost like little steps like a
Interesting.
staircase,
Yeah.
very shallowly up the side because that's its natural form. So little tip there. Whether you are illustrating or hunting for crystals, that's how you tell if it is polished or not.
Very cool.
I actually learned that, I don't know about you, but I like to watch those YouTube videos about people who like mine for gems. And sometimes they are like super, like they get like really cool finds. It's just one of the things I like to have up while I work sometimes. And this lady one time, she found like such an incredible find as far as like a bunch of gems she dug up. And somebody was like, I feel like you just like bought these and then buried them.
Oh,
and
no.
She was like, no. And then she did like a whole thing that I thought was really great for illustrators, where she was like, this is the difference between like a crystal that is man-made and a crystal that is like found in the wild, and the difference between something that's polished and something that's raw and like untouched or untampered with, that sort of thing. And I was like, I didn't know, like I love crystals, but I didn't know this, and I can use this when I paint.
Yeah, that's a really useful resource.
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like you can find art resources in the strangest of places sometimes.
Totally. I really love watching the videos where somebody will take a raw gem and turn it into a D20 die.
Yes. Yeah. I always wonder, so my nerd brain does kick in. I'm like, is that weighted properly? You know,
probably not.
But I want them. You know what I mean? I don't care. I want them. Matters not to me. You think you've seen that channel? Recently found a YouTube. Oh yeah, CJ's talking about the guy who does the D20s. That's awesome. Keeping in mind that bright lights tend to desaturate colors, that usually helps me choose colors. You know what? You're not wrong. Like you wouldn't think that is true, but sometimes that's exactly the case. And that's what has thrown me off in the past about like choosing colors for certain projects sometimes, because you think like, oh, what I need here is a nice yellow. But no, you don't. What you actually need is like a weird gray, because that's what's going to look strangely blue.
Yes.
You know, just I'm never good at doing those tricks. I think you are though, because you've showed us
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Usually I'll come up, like I'll figure it out on accident. And it's just one of those things that's like kind of like how I use like the blue that I use in my work is actually just pure gray, but because of the rest of my palette is like super warm, the gray looks blue. So it's just one of those weird eye tricks, you know, like you'd be shocked at like if you pull in somebody else's painting. How I learned color theory actually is I would pull in other people's artwork into Photoshop and I would color drop their colors. And I would just look at the hue sliders and I'd be like, this is not the color that I thought it was. You know? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's honestly, that's kind of how I like to find colors as well. Just speaking of that as like a technique for finding great color palettes. Many a time, just in an attempt to understand how colors can work together, I have often like found a painting that I really liked that used colors I wanted to use in a great way, just so that I could see like, how do you create this atmosphere with these colors, and you know, realizing how wrong I am sometimes about like how saturated a certain color could be, or like, for example, you don't actually have to use like a bright yellow in a nighttime scene. You're actually using like a very muted, almost greenish color, but because your eye is understanding the lighting that's executed, it looks and feels like a super saturated yellow to your brain. And so like I will grab an image where I'm like, wow, this person has really, you know, kind of captured the atmosphere I would love to convey in my piece. And I'll bring it into Photoshop and throw it on a Gaussian blur to create just a blurred color palette of all of those colors working together. And that's really helped in the past to kind of get that thought through my head of like, Okay, we're not using a saturated yellow. We're using a muted greenish color that's going to feel this way, and this is your palette, and it looks the way it's supposed to look because you're using it not with this blue over here, but with like a soft gray color that gives it more strength.
Yeah. It's complicated, man. Colors are complicated.
Colors are hard, man. Colors are super hard. Wow, these look great. Thanks. Yeah, I'm loving yours. I really, really love what you've done, Codi. Just with the way that you have illustrated the gold coins, because it definitely looks like you're kind of dipping into an like serious impressionism there, like giving us the idea that that's a whole pile of gold, and yet you've only painted like a dozen or so like very distinctive coins, but you've got that texture and it feels like super like a that's
thank you.
That's so good. I love the emerald sitting nestled in there too, by the way. Very nice touch.
This is how I like to draw a pile of anything, because like when you draw a pile of something, you don't necessarily want to draw every individual thing, because in real life, like your eyes aren't focused on every individual little object in a pile. You just see a pile of an object, you know? So like, it's kind of like when you're drawing a building, you don't necessarily need to draw every single brick on a side of a wall for it to come across that it's a brick wall, you know? So like if I zoom in here, you can see, I don't know if you guys were watching while I was doing it, but I actually just did this all in one layer. But especially with the color dynamics, this makes it really easy to do this. I can just kind of do it on a separate layer here and kind of recreate it here. So, you know, just picking up and putting down the brush. Oh, actually, my color dynamics got turned off. There we go. Picking up and putting down the brush, it kind of just like gives kind of just some dimension to the shape, just by adding different splotches of color there at first. And that's just kind of like, that's the impressionism part, I guess. It just kind of implies that there's something there. There's different colors there. There's something underneath the surface here. And then I just took like a brighter color so we can have some contrast against that darker shape. And then I'm kind of a little bit more intentional about creating more of like the oval shapes that would be coins here on the top.
And it's funny how like seeing you do it from the beginning there, the actual shapes of the suggested coins underneath are actually like much less uniform than the specific ones that you've placed. But because you have those uniform ones placed on top, I see way more uniform suggested coins underneath, because my brain tells me that the other colors and shapes in the background is the same thing as those brighter coins you've illustrated. Like it just makes it so. And I just think, oh, that's great. And honestly, I've never seen a more cozy pile of metal. Like, like I'm gonna be honest, that looks like I could curl up and take a nap. You know,
that's my goal. It's always the goal.
Like it looks very, very cozy.
And then also, actually, to take it another step further, I'm gonna grab my Conte crayon brush. This is another Kyle brush that I use in my work a lot. I really like to use this brush for like detail line work. So what I would come in here and do is I would take a darker color and just kind of overlap those shapes with an outline to imply like more coin shapes, but it's just the outline. It's not solid, but it kind of just like breaks up the texture a little bit. Okay. And actually the way that I learned this technique as a kid was looking at like classic old Disney movies. They do this technique a lot. Like they'll outline objects and not fill them in. Like if I like, here's a book over here or something. Like a lot of those like old intros, like 101 Dalmatians or Sleeping Beauty. They have like a lot of those, like, I don't know, it's just like really, I guess it's impressionistic. It's very like abstract, and they'll like kind of just like have shapes like abstract shapes and then like more defined shapes and then outlines of those shapes too.
They did that a lot with like bookshelves in the background where it was like a lot of painterly shapes, and then they had like an illustration line piece of like each individual book and all the little doodads and things and all that kind of stuff on it. I've seen that a lot too. They kind of did that a lot in the like the Golden Book book stuff too. That was something that I saw there a lot, which those were like some of my favorite books growing up. And you know what that reminds me of? I feel like there's a lot of just when you talk about like cartoons and trends and things throughout the years that were just like common and understood, there's also like a few things where it kind of spoils a little bit of the show for you. For example, like I feel like you always knew something was gonna move when it wasn't done in that style, you know?
Like, when the background is all painterly and then the animated stuff is solid color.
And you're like, oh, he's about to pick up that book because it doesn't look like the rest of the background.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, there was a lot of good times, a lot of good stuff like that back in the day. It used to happen. Honestly, it still happens a little bit. Maybe not so much because there's so many different mediums being used for cartoon illustration and stuff these days. But I feel like I was like seeing that still in SpongeBob, you know, growing up, and I think probably still the way that it's done. Like seeing that and being like, oh, Gary's about to sit on that rug. Or something, you know. I like how some of the old Disney, this from Paloma, I like how some of the old Disney cartoons overpainted objects in the background too, like outlined and colored, but when they went outside the lines too. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that extended for a while into a lot of cartoon media. Even still, I think that there are shows which do that, like specifically because that's the whole vibe they're going for like the show in general. Which
Pixar does a lot of that.
Yeah,
very
Pixar does it.
Abstract shapes, like Monsters Inc. was a lot of abstract shapes.
I remember the Proud Family did that too for a long time. So it's like, it's really interesting to dissect. And then you have like, I don't know if I'm just old and don't like change, but like I get really irritated when there's a cartoon, but it's like, okay, Chowder is a good cartoon. I love Chowder, but they do that thing where it's like, we're all made in 3D, but the texture that builds up the illustration of our shirts doesn't move. So like they move, and then it's like a clipping mask where they're moving around.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that is weird. I totally know what you mean. Yeah,
I don't like it. Makes me mad. I'm like, okay, no, none of this. just be a shirt. But then I'm like, as somebody who, you know, if I put myself in the shoes of the animators, I'm like, you know what? Do it that way.
Right. Yeah.
just you know,
it would be a total crazy amount of work to be able to paint every single frame, or I don't even know how they do it nowadays, but you know, there's like hardly even very many 2D animated kids shows at all anymore, just because 3D is so much faster and cheaper, I'm sure.
And I think that even the ones that are 2D are probably not actually, they're not 2D anymore.
Probably.
Like it's just like some kind of software that they're using to mimic like a cartoon.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's done now, which I mean, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't blame them. I would do that too, because some of this stuff that they be coming out with these days, I'm like, imagine if someone still had to draw every single frame of that.
Oh my gosh, I know.
That's why we got those little weird squiggly things in the old cartoons, because someone was drawing it and they were like, you know what? I'm only drawing 2 of these books.
Yeah.
I'm only making 2 of these books for you, and that's that, friend. The Power of Gray is a whole thing for me, says Wade, and that is so crazy that you say that, because we were peeking at your show, which congratulations. And if nobody, if anybody in the chat did not catch Wade on before us, please do, because Wade has got his own show, which is pretty freaking nifty. So definitely check that out on Tuesdays. But I was just saying, when I was looking at your art, I was like, bro, Wade is a master of gray.
Right?
Like, these values and these shapes is just, chef's kiss.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Also, AM, I don't know if you peeped AM's comment on the YouTube channel, but AM says, Codi Bear, making another comfort piece. I could just live in your art.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. I could too, friend. I could. All right, that's kind of a cool crystal. I don't know if that looks like
Dude, that looks
sapphire.
Amazing.
Thanks.
That is absolutely incredible. Like
Thanks.
the specular highlights on all of the facets look so good.
Thanks, friend. I'm pretty pleased with it, actually. Also, I think we only have 5 minutes left. How did this happen?
Whoa, we do. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
That's crazy. Okay. So this happens. We're gonna have to stay on this. If we're gonna be streaming together every time for this, we're gonna have to keep an eye on the time,
right?
For sure. Because Cody and I, we get ahead of ourselves or get away from ourselves, really. But yeah, it's only been like 5 minutes, or we only have like 5 minutes.
It's only been
5 minutes. We only have 5 minutes left. So in that time, I'm gonna go ahead and throw like a blue over top and throw this on a blending mode just to maybe, that kind of sucked all the color out of there, but just to kind of like make this a little bit more cohesive and like sapphire-esque. And then if we want, we can actually save it. I'm gonna just, because it's not finished, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna group all of this. And I am going to throw a random color in the background, and I'm going to drop it into our template just to give everybody an idea of like what we mean when we say go ahead and download this template and try it out. So this is not like, done by any means, but we're going to do this, and I'm going to do like a little turn for it, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Oop, not like that. Not quite like that. We'll do it like so, just make it a tiny bit bigger. And I am going to save this. Save as on my computer. Not there. Let's do... Should probably have already saved a version of this to my desktop or to my my files so that I don't have to navigate to it. But there we go. And what I'm going to do is pop over and drop this into our template. Okay. Let me grab this. And let's throw this right in our little template here. Let me navigate to here. Oh, I didn't save that as a... You ever save something and you save it as a Photoshop file and not as a PNG?
Oh no.
Yeah, but we do have like a few minutes.
Just click a couple minutes here.
Yeah, Juxtapaint. PNG, not a PSD, because I guess I can throw a PSD into here, but I don't want to go through all of that. Okay. Boom. I think I can just throw that in there. Can I? Can I do that? Let's go ahead and add. Look through, it's got to kind of load. Can I do this? I thought I could do that. Maybe not. Maybe I can't. Okay, I'm gonna have to.
We'll have to figure it out.
Go into my stuff, my templates, and upload images, media, photos, upload from device. I'm gonna do it in time. How much time do I have? Okay, I have
it
like
is
a minute.
53. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it happen. And And then I'm going to throw it in here, and I probably won't be able to add the flavor text because I didn't think of flavor text to put with it just yet, but we will. And I'll post that. That's what I'll post on Instagram, is like the full version, like finished a little bit. There we go. So we've got like my little pendant, my little rose pendant. Yeah, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna crop it into the same shape as that underneath there, so we can go crop, and I'll do like a rounded corner, and then we will kind of drag it out so that it matches where I have this under here. And then I'm gonna drag this down, and can I open here? I wanna put it into that group. Let me ungroup this actually. Let's go ahead and ungroup. And then I will scroll and find that. I'm going to put it where the image goes, right there. Boom. And just start to kind of make this a part of our card.
So cool.
And then I could add my little flavor text in there if that's what I want to do. Yeah, I think it'll look cool, especially after I come back and like finish a little more of the illustration. It'll start to look pretty nifty. Get my little title for it in there and add my little flavor text and stuff. It'll look neat.
Yeah, Christy in chat actually suggested calling it the voodoo crystal. So
oh, that'll work. That'll do it. But yeah, if you folks want to create something with us, because I think we don't have any time left really, but create something with us and add it into the template that we.
Thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Adios, guys.